Sitting on the ground. Ask him to sit next to you, bro.
Why don't you mind your business?
You need to stop that man sitting on the ground, man.
30.
Sitting on the ground.
You got him? You got him?
I'm not running nowhere.
He's under arrest, yes.
For what? For what? What am I under arrest?
Just go to jail. Take your charge like a man.
For what?
Take your charge.
What am I going to jail for?
Because you don't know how to act. Don't ever interfere with. What did you say? I didn't hear you.
Just relax. Just go.
Leave my scene. Go. Leave. Then don't you ever tell me how to do my job.
Who remembers this peach of a human being? This is one Sergeant Ethan Newberg of the Baltimore Police Department. He was the man that made more money than every single Baltimore City employee in 2019. More than the mayor, more than the police commissioner, his boss, more than every lieutenant in the department, and more than the state's attorney. The same state's attorney that just handed down an indictment. An indictment that says over 9 different occasions he's charged with 32 counts of assault, false imprisonment, misconduct in office. Carries a maximum sentence of 110 years in prison. The karma train has just smacked Ethan Newberg in his big fat forehead. Does that remind you of any sergeant you know of from this channel? One, Larry Snelling. A man who made a ridiculous amount of money in overtime working as a sergeant. The man who got not 1, but 2 merit promotions after he took the stand and testified against his fellow police officers in the Laquan McDonald cover-up. In the 99th percentile of all CPD employees. As a sergeant at the training academy. 2017, Larry Snelling's salary was 20. Was 2017, Larry Snelling's salary. Go ahead and guess. 2017. This is 2017. He's just a sergeant. He started in January 2nd, 1992. What's his salary, guys? What do you think his salary is? 120, 150,000. Make honest guesses. He's a sergeant in the second largest police force. What I mean, we'd go broke if some of these. 115,000. That's 115,000. Okay, well, if I read this, why don't you guys read that for me? What does that say? How much did he make there? How much did that say he made? $217,000, $883 2 years ago. He made $217,000  2 years. Anyways, cue my music. No music today, guys. Today I wanted to thank the people that have donated to the Demand Your Flag movement and bought Demand Your Flag decals. Stephanie L., Courtney F., Aldo, Miss Garpetti, Ronald R., Miranda, the young Miranda who says I have a voice for radio. They say I have a face but not a voice. Brian, Jason, Karen M., Shane B., Jason S., Scott P., Aaron M., Paul V., Greg D., Anthony G., Car L., Anita U., Robert T., Kirk D., Scott J., Jackie G., Andy P., Milton M., Paul G., Nino, Scott R., Ronald S., Kevin H., James P., and Melissa V. If I forgot any names, I apologize, but thank you for supporting Demand Your Flag and helping me bring this content to the people. Marilyn Mosby, the state's attorney, handed down the indictment, 110 years possible. This is what they're talking about in Baltimore today regarding the highest paid Baltimore City employee, the tyrant Timothy
Facing dozens
Newberg.
more charges after he was first arrested months ago. If convicted, that officer could spend the rest of his life in prison. WJZ's Live, Rachel Minitoff with the announcement from the
At a press conference Thursday, Baltimore City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby says Sergeant Ethan Newberg faces up to 110 years in prison. The 24-year veteran of the department is now charged with 32 counts of assault, false imprisonment, and misconduct in office.
The indictment alleges that Sergeant Newberg, acting beyond the scope of his authority, engaged in a common pattern and practice of harassment and intimidation to knowingly, intentionally, and unlawfully harass, detain, and assault law-abiding citizens for the improper purpose of dominating, intimidating, and instilling fear in the citizens of Baltimore City.
You got him?
Newberg was arrested in June for grabbing a man while his subordinates tackled him to the ground. Body camera video from that day shows the man was urging Baltimore police to get another man off of a wet sidewalk during a warrant check. Sergeant Newberg took exception and chased him down. Mosby says after this incident, her office opened an investigation, and they say this is just one example of Sergeant Newberg's illegal conduct. Investigators spent months looking at the sergeant's body-worn camera.
According to the indictment, several of Sergeant Newberg's unlawful detentions and assaults occurred as a direct result of citizens sitting or standing idly nearby as Sergeant Newberg was conducting other police business, causing no disturbance nor creating any threat to Sergeant Newberg or his colleagues.
Why don't you mind your business?
Mosby went on to say several of these incidents happened when citizens openly called into question what Sergeant Newberg was doing while on duty. The state's attorney's office says it's now deciding what to do with any convictions that the sergeant was.
Anytime you hear a state's attorney say the words or phrase, he was involved in a pattern or practice, you know it's not going to be good. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This wasn't I had a bad day. This wasn't the dog chewed the paper this morning. This is who this guy was. He developed a pattern and practice of detaining people, assaulting people who were just around his crime scene and said something. How dare you say something in the presence of King Farouk? If he just gives you the thumbs down, it's off to jail with you, you go. He knew his body camera was on. He knew that gentleman, all he said was, why you make him sit on the ground? But he's been reinforced over 23 years of a career in which he's been compensated, in which he's making more money than the police commissioner, more money than the mayor. You cannot tell him anything. People get drunk off power, and this guy is 3 sheets to the wind. He's been a police officer for 24 years, and he's constantly being the highest paid employee in the city, more than the mayor, more than the state's attorney, more than the police commissioner. And you don't think that goes to somebody's head? Power corrupts. Absolute power absolutely corrupts. So we're looking at a man who was a 24-year veteran, looking at 110 years, 32 counts, including assault, false imprisonment, misconduct in office. Now, a lot of his cases came in which he had somebody in custody and the people on the peripheral, the collateral people said something to him, and how dare they talk back to him or say anything to him when he's doing what he does. He's in charge. He's King Farouk. One thumbs down, and it's off to jail with you because he's angry, he's irritable, he's overworked because he's working all these hours. Who could be happy doing all that? What's the point of making the most money in the city if all you're doing is working? What are you going to spend it on? New shiny shoes for your outfit? A couple of thin blue line flags? What? If you're always working, what's the point of making all that money? Makes no sense to me. And here's another crazy thing. He made the most money in the 2019 fiscal year, and he only worked 11 months out of it because he was suspended all of June. The year goes from July 1st to June 31st. He was suspended all of June. So he made it being the highest paid employee, and he only worked 11 months. So that should give you an idea of how much he was working and how much he was making. Time and a half. Double time. Double time and a half. Imagine if they went through all his body camera footage and not just over the last year. My God, they would need an abacus to add up all his charges. Anyways, this is Disorderly Product News. Subscribe to the Paparazzi. Bidding you and yours a good night.